Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live with um, some questions for you, as well as I will take some of your questions. But first, I don't know if you have seen some of my latest posts on Instagram and Facebook too. But there's this one article I wrote called "Have you ever seen a Spec Ops candidate cry?" Then there's kind of a similar article about quitting, and it's about laughing in the face of the quit demon. So check out those articles. They're pretty good. I'll put a link to them in the comment section or the description below. But I just want to talk about those real quick because there's some things you can do now to prepare yourself a little better for what you are about to endure. It does, and I'm not just talking about Spec Ops training. I'm not talking about military training, law enforcement. I'm talking about any goal that you have. You know, the same rules apply, you know, for all of them, right? So, you know, first of all, you got to do your research on whatever you're trying to do. Right? In the world of Spec Ops, you should know the journey that is required, how to enlist, all the ins and outs of taking an ASVAB and PST and talking to your mentors and getting approved, you know, through the standards of that process before you even go. Because some people's Spec Ops dreams get shattered before they even go to boot camp because they can't pass a PST because you didn't prepare yourself long before you decided to enlist. Right? You need to be in really good shape when you decide to enlist, especially if you're trying to do a Spec Ops program. And you need to set a good standard of performance before you even consider starting a timeline on the recruitment process, the PST taking process, because you need to give yourself some time to also prepare to get through the training. All I mentioned there before was just you got to the training. If you can pass that PST and the ASVAB and meet the minimum standards at boot camp, you will get to the training. Now, you may not get through prep because your PSTs aren't good enough, but you're going to get a shot. So do yourself a favor and never strive for minimum standards. That's probably the number one thing I've seen most people do is they just focus on the PST. They barely pass the PST. They get their dance ticket to go to Buds and they never get there because they can't pass the PST after some deconditioning time at boot camp. Sucks. But that is easily preventable just by working out a little harder before you go and giving yourself more time. You know, some of this stuff takes years to get really good at doing. So just because you played football in high school doesn't mean you're ready for Buds right afterwards. A lot of people actually think that. So lesson learned. You got to know your why too. Why are you doing this? You know, why are you putting yourself through this pain and daily torture of whatever that is? Like I said, if it's med school, you may ask the same thing. You better have a good why. You're going to be studying your butt off all the time and pretty high stress. If it's Spec Ops program, same thing. You're going to be physically in pain quite a bit. And then the tactical challenges of, you know, progressing through the selection are also increased, and your ability to learn new topics and new movements and new skills is very important. If you don't have that ability to learn quickly, you know, you may not meet the standard on just that alone. But yeah, you just can't focus on PST alone. And you got to get, like I said, you have to get to and through if you want to be successful. Getting to the training is crushing a PST. Getting through the training is focusing on all the elements that you are about to endure. learning how to get through college, learning how to get through boot camp, learning how to get through a police academy. What are the physical challenges and the mental challenges that you will have to endure when you're going through that process to reach your goals, right? It's just preparation is all it is. So you can avoid all of that by just preparing yourself a little better. See what kind of comments we have here today. I will get to some of these in a second. I got a few more things I just want to pass on, but there's a little voice inside our head, and there's an article that's number one on my StuSmithFitness.com page right now in the article section called "Laughing in the Face of the Quit Demon." And read that Quit Demon article too. It's pretty good. It makes you better understand what this voice is. But really, this voice is just a survival skill in our head. It's not just the thinking voice, but it's a survival voice where it basically wants us to stay alive and out of pain and out of suffering so we can continue our survival as a species. If it feels threatened, it will start talking to you. And there are some skills that you can do to turn that off. One, go in there ready to compete. And I promise you, if you go in there, compete each day to win something, you will never think about quitting. But when there's moments where you're just cold, wet, sandy, sitting in dark ocean, pretty uncomfortable, tired, hungry, that internal voice tends to work a little bit harder. But you have to turn it off. Usually the best way to turn that off is laughing. No kidding. And this whole article is all about laughing through some of the painful events that occur. And you will have new buddies that are your friends for life when you're going through this type of training. There's even a couple of funny books written by a Navy SEAL. Billy Allman wrote one called When a Bullet Hits Your Funny Bone. And he also wrote another one, Navy SEALs and Their Unabashed Humor. You find those on Amazon. Then there's a third one that's not written by a SEAL, but it involves a SEAL. And this one cracked me up. In fact, I even have it sitting out here somewhere. It's Living with a SEAL. And it's Jesse Itzler who hired David Goggins to live with him for a month and just beat his ass every day. And it is some funny stuff. And if you can learn to laugh at his pain, you will see it's going to be very similar, because you're going to be laughing at your buddy getting beat down. And then you're going to be laughing at your own self getting beat down, depending on what that is. When it's all done, you may not be laughing during, but it's just one of those things that laughing can really help you. And there's a quote here from some psychologists that says, when we do this, we are signaling to ourselves that whatever horrible thing we've just encountered isn't really as horrible as it appears. Something we often desperately want to believe. This guy's Dr. Lickerman calls this a mature defense mechanism as opposed to a psychotic, immature, or neurotic defense mechanism. And he notes that being able to laugh at a trauma at the moment it occurs or soon after signals both to ourselves and to others that we believe in our ability to endure it. And those are very powerful words there, because that's what's happening when you can laugh at some of the dumb stuff that occurs and some of the suck that you're going to endure, no matter what that is in life. So the moral of this article, like I said, laughing in the face of the quit demon. The moral of this article is laugh more and believe in yourself more. So that's my introduction to questions. My question for you, is there any particular thing you want to, one, hear me talk about today, but two, see me write about? Because I actually have a deadline today, probably around noon, of a article I write for military.com, and looking for ideas. So I'll read through all of your questions. If I don't get to all of your questions, please email me or comment in the comment section of the YouTube post here, and I'll get to them eventually. Or Facebook if this is on Facebook. So I'm streaming on a service called StreamYard where I get YouTube and Facebook all at the same time. So that's why a lot of these guys are coming up as YouTube and Facebook. So let's take some of these. Hey, Mr. Smith, did you hear Navy SEAL, mathematician, doctor, astronaut? Oh yeah, Johnny Kim. Talking about you, how you followed your book on Jocko podcast. You know what? Somebody sent me that, and that was really nice. I sent Johnny a thank you for doing that because he didn't have to say that. But you know, it works. So check it out. What's a good sprint workout? I need to get my speed up. Depends. You know, what are you trying to do? 40-meter sprints? Trying to ace a 400-meter dash? 100-meter dash? What are you, a track guy? Trying to get better at the 300-yard shuttle run? Depends. That answer depends on so many factors that I don't fully have a good picture of what you're trying to do. How can you incorporate daily challenges to get more resilience and toughness? You know what? Every day is a daily challenge. If you think about it, you wake up, say 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to go work out. That's a daily challenge right there, right? It is, right? You're probably never as comfortable as you are all night long than you are at 5 in the morning when that alarm goes off, right? And you just want to hit snooze, or you just want to stay in and say, screw it, I'll work out later. But you don't. Every time you do that, you build another level of mental toughness. And that's how resiliency and mental toughness is built. It is built one day at a time, and it just layers on top of each other until eventually you got this unbeatable habit of never quitting. Another one is going swimming first thing in the morning. Man, I don't know what it is. 6 o'clock in the morning and you jump into the pool first thing. You're still pulling sleep out of your eyes. That sucks. You know, those swim team kids who are there at 5:30 every day. I mean, that's building some serious resilience on their bodies and minds, because that's not an easy transition to go from dry to wet. And then you got school all day, and then you get to do it a second time at the end of the day. So that is what I recommend. Daily little challenges. All start from the basics of just waking up to, you know, maxing out a set of pull-ups middle of the day, going for a mile run, see how fast you can do it without, you know, I mean, max mile run. That sucks. But we usually do some kind of, not necessarily daily challenges, but some kind of gut check type workout where you're enduring something for a significant long period of time, couple of hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours, like a Spec Ops triathlon. We do a 4-mile run, 4-mile ruck, and a 1-mile swim. But in between each event, you have to do a Devil's Mile event, which is a 1/4-mile run, a 1/4-mile lunge, 1/4-mile fireman carry, 1/4-mile bear crawl, 1/4-mile burpee broad jump. You don't have to do all of those in between each, but you need to spread out those 4 events in between all of the events of the Spec Ops triathlon. We also have another workout called the Sam Baby Murph. You got to check that out. That's a great classic, kind of resembles log PT of all the exercises you can do with a log. It's just a sandbag that you use. But yeah, I like those kind of challenges. I think they're pretty healthy. I don't know about doing gut check type challenges every day. I don't like that, but I like the little mental challenges. Like I said, just getting up, getting wet, cold shower, whatever you want to do, there is a mental challenge to that will make you a little bit tougher. All right. So Chris says, great timing. I'm doing an ab workout and have nothing to listen to. Oh, okay. Do you know about current changes they've made to prep and taking SBSO to Coronado for it? Not sure what that question means. But I will say this, there are some changes going on right now. Half of it has to do with just a backup of COVID issues going on. The other half is that, they may not need as many people as they previously needed. So only highly qualified people are going to go to buds, which is the way it should be, in my opinion. We shouldn't be sending 300 people, and then 150 of them quit before buds even starts. That's a waste of time and money. So only send 150. I think that's a great idea. I think the limit I saw was 50 Spec Ops, SOs per month, which is still, that's a lot. That's 600 candidates a year going to buds. Now, typically how it's been in the past, if you had 1,000 people go, you'd get 250 to graduate on average. So now you're looking at 600 go in a year. So maybe 150, 200 will graduate. It's not bad. Still good numbers. They still need SEALs. It's not like they're completely full. They have a good capacity right now, but every year SEALs retire or they get out and they need to refill those spots. So don't think that it's closed. It's just a combination of COVID backups and a reduction in the number of people going in. And it just looks like they've stopped taking people. And they probably have. I think most people, at least here, are not leaving until March, which is probably a good idea anyway. I don't recommend leaving right now at all, because the last thing I want to do is spend 2 weeks or longer cooped up in quarantine on a Navy base living in the barracks. Stay at home and join later. Join when all this crap is over. It's my opinion. That's not the Navy's opinion, obviously, but anyway. So, yes, I'm familiar with some of the things going on, but it's not that big a deal. You still need to perform well. I have a good question. What's the best way in your experience to keep others around you motivated in the cold, dark winter from quitting and not showing up? Ooh, you know what? I tell people this all the time. It's not my job to motivate you to serve your country. And I only deal with people who want to serve in some way. So my workouts at 6 a.m., rain or shine, are for people who want to be in the military, want to go Spec Ops, want to go law enforcement, maybe law enforcement to SWAT team or firefighter. That is it. So I tell them all the time, not my job to motivate you to show up. You don't show up, that's your business. I'm not going to be hunting you down looking for you. So it's kind of a bit of a reverse psychology if you think about it. I tell people all the time that one day their fitness is going to be a determining factor in them living or dying, or their buddy living or dying, or someone you're trying to help living or dying. It is that important. Whether that is as simple as your grip giving out, or it is your back giving out, or you just can't run fast enough to help somebody, that sucks, right? If you had to blame someone's death on your lack of preparation, that that sticks with you. So if that does not motivate you to get out in the cold, dark winter days and start showing up, then you should consider a new profession. period. So that's how I deal with people who have motivation issues. Just reframe it in a way that their life's going to depend on it. And motivation is fine, but motivation eventually has to turn into discipline. Just like that earlier question about how do you build resistance? You know, little steps. You know, you're motivated now. Start building good habits now while you're motivated, because there will be a day when you're not motivated and you don't feel like getting up and going to work out. But you know what? You do it anyway. That's when motivation has evolved into discipline. And now you can carry those habits forward for the rest of your life. You know, it's hard. It's hard to break habits. It's hard to build new habits, but you can do it very easily when you're motivated. And everybody's motivated at first. You know, we all start off on this journey motivated, but there will be many days when you are not. So it's a good question. I like that one. You could do a video on the quit demon and laughing over it. Yeah, that's funny. When swimming with fins, do you actually do the arm stroke as well, or is it just finning with lead arm and other arm at the side? Nate, good question. It depends. Depends on if you are Air Force or if you are Navy. Because the Navy combat swimmer stroke with fins, you can use your arms. Basically, it's you glide with a bunch of kicking, and then you use your arms to kind of rotate and pull your body up to breathe. The lead arm, trail arm, you just stay like this, one arm by your hips and one arm right here, and you just kick, and you just stay there. So lead arm, trail arm, CS and CSS are two different strokes. I guess you could do either one of them at buds, but you'll probably be slower if you're not using your arms. But in Air Force training, Air Force PJ type training, you will use lead arm, trail arm version. So, like I said, the answer depends on what branch of service you are doing. Just like the Air Force will use 500 meters for their test, and the Navy will use 500 yards for their test. Just the way it is. Everybody has a little bit of difference in how they do things. One reason why Navy uses yards is we always use yards in the water, but we use meters on land. So all of our charts, whenever we're looking at the ocean, are done in nautical miles, which a nautical mile is 2,000 yards. And then you got to click on land, which is 1,000 meters. So you're going to have to learn navigating with yards and meters in your future, because all charts are measured in yards. All land maps are measured in meters. Just started swimming and my endurance is not good. Yes, there's an article I wrote called "Dude, You're Not in Swimming Shape." Because I get a lot of questions like, hey, I do this and I do this and I just can't breathe anymore. Or I can't do my double arm pull, you know, without coming up too early. Whatever. Dude, you're not in swimming shape. There's a great article that helps you with that. You don't even need a book. I mean, all my books have swimming in them. So you're fine to get covered, especially the Navy SEAL, Coast Guard rescue swimmer, SAR swimmer, Air Force PJ. You know, any of those workouts have a ton of swimming in it, probably 5-6 days a week almost. But there's an article I wrote called Swimming and Running Faster for the PST. And like I said, I'll put these links in the description below. It's really a good one. It has my favorite conditioning workout, especially for CSS guys who are trying to learn the CSS. Once you've gotten the stroke down to a point where you can handle, say, 50 yards in 50 seconds, now you got to get in shape to do that for 50 yards, 50 seconds for 10 more times or 9 more times. To give you 500 yards in 500 seconds. That takes some conditioning. And the way we do it is a workout called the 50-50. 50 yards. First, you warm up with a 500, because anytime you take a PST, I want people going in there and saying, hey, this first event of the PST is just my warm up. Warm up with a 500-yard swim. Then you jump right into the 50-50 workout, which is 50 yards of freestyle, fast, hard, get yourself winded, and then try to catch your breath with a 50-yard CSS. Do that 10 times. That's 1,500 yards of total swimming for your workout. And I promise you, 1,500 yards of swimming every day will get you in shape for a 500-yard swim relatively quickly. I would say I have guys that start off with me at maybe 10 and a half minutes of swimming. And now, within 3 to 4 weeks, they're in the 8-minute zone. It's because, one, we learned the technique of how to clean all that up, any mistakes they're having. But two, they got in shape to be able to handle that. And all they did was 5-6 days a week. They did 1,500 yards of a warm up, and they did a 10 50-50s. Now, once 10 50-50s gets easy, you can turn it into 75 75s or 100 hundreds. See if you can do it for 5 to 10 times. That just makes it a little bit harder, a little bit longer. Then you start seeing some serious improvements. Good question, though. Hamer Smith, is doing moderate weight, high reps the right way to train to prepare for the military? It's a way to train for muscle stamina. It's not a way to train for strength or power necessarily. Might help you with your calisthenics, but calisthenics will also help you with your calisthenics. You also need to run and swim and ruck and stuff like that. So it has, lifting weights is a part of the solution, right? You can't just do one of them. Those 5 a.m. wake ups were a real challenge when COVID hit. Yeah, was. Had to keep swimming, had to keep my swimming up. So I'd wake up at 5, swim in the swimming hole, 5:30 to 6:40, and then drove to work. Hey, man, good job. That's the way to do it. Just keep rolling. Just keep moving. What foods do I eat before running and swimming workouts? Just normal food. I don't have a special diet for when I take PSTs or if I'm running or if I'm swimming. It's normal food. When I say normal food, it might be eggs, an omelet. It might be some toast in the morning, maybe a drink of juice. Lunch might be a sandwich, might be half a burrito, because if I eat a whole burrito, I'd probably be a little bit too heavy in the stomach. But yeah, you just don't overthink it. Right? Practice your workouts and take notes on when you feel good or when you feel bad. It could be directly related to the fuel you're putting into your body versus you just having a bad day. And just realize, oh, you know what? I ate peanut butter and jelly sandwich today, and that I had my best swim time ever. Consider eating more peanut butter and jelly sandwiches before you swim. It may be the magic solution for you. I don't know. But you need to find it. And that's why we take notes on things that we do before we work out. I like to know when I have one of my best days, if I have a fastest run or the best PR, max reps, or heaviest lift, I look back at the previous 24 hours and say, okay, how did I sleep? That's a good one. How did I eat? Another good one. What did I do the day before as far as my workout was considered? Was it a recovery day? Was it a different split? Maybe it was an upper body, lower body day split. You have to look at how, when you perform well, what makes you perform well. And usually the previous 24 hours will answer a lot of the energy issues that you may be having during a test or after a test. So write it down, figure it out. How long does it take to train for Navy SEALs? It depends, Luke. I've seen some people who were multi-sport athletes do a few months of specific training, like maybe they had to learn how to swim or had to get in shape to swim, and they were out of here in 3 months. Crushed it. I've seen guys who might have not been in sports for a few years, or they were just all one sport, like powerlifting football player. That took a little over a year to turn into a better endurance athlete. Everybody's different. I haven't seen a one size fits all for anything. Now, I have some programs. Obviously, books are my generic version for training. You may have to personalize it for whatever strengths and weaknesses you have. You might have to decrease the running distance because it's too much for you at the time, or you might have to double the running distance because it's not enough. I don't know. But books are not personalized programs, so don't think of them as that. Think of them as a generic program, and you need to personalize it to fit your goals and your current abilities. Otherwise, you could do too much, or you could do not enough. But it just kind of depends. How long does it take? It takes, for me, it took about 2 years to really transition out of a football player who then started playing rugby, who then started preparing for endurance challenges and turning myself into a more of an endurance athlete. It took about 2 years for me. And I was a 3-sport athlete in high school, but none of them were endurance sports. I did a powerlifting, I did football, and I threw a shot put for track. That was it. Anything over 100 meters was long distance running. I grew up in Florida, so I swam a lot just because we just swam, but I didn't know how to swim. I wasn't a competitive swimmer, so I had to learn how to do that. So for me, it took me a little longer. And my recommendation is just be patient. If you're not a good candidate, don't join yet. In fact, I have an article that assesses you to get to and through training. I'll put the link in here. I think, let me see what the article is exactly called, and you guys can look it up. Physical assessment tool for to and through selection. In fact, Jeff and I did a podcast on that as well. So it's a really good article and video. So physical assessment tools for to and through selection. Check out that article. That'll kind of give you a ballpark of where I have seen guys who successfully made it through whatever selection they were doing. These were the lifts and the runs and the swims and the rucks and some of the workouts they were doing before they left. All right. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Morning swims, man, are the best. I love them. Right now I'm swimming at lunch because it's the best time for me to swim just due to COVID. But normally I would swim first thing in the morning. Let's see. Things you learned in the teams that translate to a civilian career. You know what? I had an article. That is actually, here's the title of the article. Things I learned after Spec Ops training I still use today, 29 years later. I'm going on almost 30 years since I went to Buds. And you know what's cool? I'm at my Buds weight still. So I'm trying to get to 195 forever. I'm right at about 200, 202 sometimes. But that I hovered between 195 and 205 when I was at Buds. But anyway, this is a good article. Things I learned after Spec Ops training I still use today. Let me give you a quick bullet point. Number 1, your body is 10 times stronger than your mind will let it be. Number 2, I found the fuel when the tank was empty. That's a definition of mental toughness there. And I have faith in yourself. What I learned, number 3, I had faith in myself. Train to compete, not just survive. You definitely have to learn how to compete and not just be in survival mode. Make it to the next meal. Best advice for graduating Hell Week. Just make it to the next meal. In fact, I still use that one. Sometimes I'm like, I just got to keep working until lunch. Keep working until dinner, right? You have to do it yourself, but you can't do it alone. You got to be a good team player, 100%. but you have to endure everything by yourself. Number 7 thing I learned was you never think about quitting when you think about winning. That goes back to that survival and competing. But yeah, check out that article. It's on Stu Smith Fitness. Things I learned after Spec Ops training, I still use 29 years later. So, good question. A lot of that translates into my personal and work experience. Tips for building a solid base running for newer 200-pound dudes. I have some great articles for you. If you go to StuSmithFitness.com, Justin, got 2 of them. One's a beginner that kind of builds you from a beginner running phase, maybe 5 miles a week with some every other day type of running, non-impact mixed in there. And then that progresses. And eventually I get you up to 20 miles a week. And then I don't go any further. And we just try to get all your miles now fast. You might have built up to some slower distance running during that process. You know, one thing about long, slow distance is they just get you good at running slow, but it's a good way to build a cardio base, not knocking it. But what I try to do is I get people to 20 miles a week, and then we try to really focus on increasing speed. And when I say increasing speed, I mean going from an 8-minute mile pace to a 7-minute mile pace, or from a 7-minute mile pace to a 6-minute mile pace. And then learning 2 different types of pace, because if you're taking a short timed run, like a mile and a half, you need to be close to that 6-minute mile pace. So you need to know what that feels like. You need to prepare for that 9 minutes of suck that is the mile and a half run at a 6-minute pace. Now, to get through the training, you're going to be running 4-mile timed runs every week. Now, for that one, you need to learn a 7-minute pace. Now, you can break 7 if you want, but if you go much slower than 7 minutes, you're getting close to that minimum standard you don't want to play around with. 7 minutes will, in 4 miles will get you a 28-minute 4-mile timed run, which you will see that you'll have, I think, 31 minutes in first phase, 30 minutes in second phase, and 29 minutes in third phase. So, I'm not playing with a whole lot of time there, but if you can get better than that, you'll be in the 26 and a half minute range with plenty of gravy. Even on a bad day, you'll still pass. So that's where I try to get people on running. So, but yeah, there's a couple, and they're free programs. They're just articles that I wrote on Stu Smith Fitness. Now, all of my books have running in them. They're a system. They have running, they have swimming, they have calisthenics, they have lifting, depending on which one you have. Some are more focused on calisthenics, running, and swimming. Some do have lifting in them. So it just depends. Supposedly they're taking prep to Coronado and they're restructuring. Oh yeah, that's been in plan for years. And they've demolished the grinder area. Yeah, they are. Yeah, that's the plan. I'm not sure about some kind of prep that's still going to be at boot camp. I think that is still very useful because it can get people out of the program before you have to ship them, which saves a lot of money and time. So there still will be some form of prep / pre-selection that occurs at Great Lakes, and then they may have some longer buds orientation type process over in Coronado. So I'm sure there's going to be new names for whatever it is. It always changes. Changes like these occur quite often in the military, and you just have to be on top of them. But regardless, nothing really is changing. You still have to go in there and crush the PST. You still have to go in there and be ready for what events you're about to endure. You can't worry about what's changing because it doesn't matter. You're still going to take a PST. You're still going to do log PT. You're still going to be under a boat. You still have to endure buds. The whole prep stuff, don't let that bother you. Who cares? If they're going to make you run on a track, great. If they're going to make you run on a trail, that's what you have to do. If you're going to run on the beach, that's what you have to do. Don't beat yourself up about, hey, what kind of boots should I get? What kind of, it doesn't matter. You still need to run certain pace at that certain distance. Hit it. Ways to toughen up your feet. The bottoms of my feet are red and get heated up while rucking. You know what? Something I did was wear 2 pair of socks. That helped a lot. It quit the hot spots from occurring. So I wore a very thin pair of polyester rayon blend sock underneath the thicker wool issue sock. In fact, the other ones were issue socks too. They were just dress socks. But they're tight. I mean, they're more like pantyhose than they are a sock. There's no cotton in them, no wool. It is all synthetic material, which is really good because it helps keep sand out. And your foot tends to slide in there with that sock on there. And I never had a blister going to buds doing that. And my feet were wet just as much as everybody else's and soft. That's one way to help. As far as toughening up your feet, it's like, walk around barefoot. That will toughen up your feet pretty much. But you also got to toughen up the heels and all that as well. So my advice is double up your socks. Okay, let's see. Taking the PST today. Good luck. All right, couple more questions. We're going about 40 minutes here already. Any suggestions on morning meal before a PST? Your normal food that you normally eat for breakfast is what I would do. Maybe get up a little earlier so it digests fully. But you do want some food in there for morning PSTs because it's about a 45-minute event, and low blood sugar going into that and burning out all your glycogen, which takes about 20 minutes. In this test, you need to not only focus on having some food in your belly before you go, but also some form of carbohydrate drink during your test. Sip some Gatorade, sip some juice, whatever's good for your digestive system that you like. You're going to need that extra sugar in your blood, especially for that final kick on the run, because that's when most people just fall apart and they got nothing left and they start throwing up because they're low blood sugar and they burned out all their glycogen and they find their pace slows down to like a 9-minute mile pace. So that's what I would do. Just be carved up because you're going to burn a lot of sugar and glycogen and carbs. But better part is eat well the night before, right? And eat a good carbohydrate meal, good protein. But don't overeat because that sloshing around does come back up sometimes. So you need to figure it out what works best for you. And like I said, take notes. If you go and crush that PST and feel great, remember everything that you did. If there's something that you just felt like crap on, maybe you need to add something else. Might be, there's an article I wrote before, during, and after. What that applies to is workout nutrition before your workout, during your workout, after your workout. It's called the ABDs of nutrition: after, before, during. Trying to be clever with the title. But if you look up ABDs of nutrition, you'll see some great ideas for food before, during, and after workouts. I'll put that link in here too as well. Let's see. Any plans on reporting the best way to pass the Army PT test? Stephen. Yeah, I mean, I've got a great book for it. Where'd it go? Let me see here. Couple of them here for you. New Army fitness test and the old all-in-one program, Army PFT workout. And then trying to get into an academy, a little bit different, CFA test. But they all move into respective PFTs as well. So yeah, I got tons of Army PT test articles as well as programs right there. Let's see. Hey, Stu, love your content. Often watch your conversation with Don Shipley a few years ago. Yeah, he's a good guy. I do like him. I played rugby at Navy, and I was a inside, outside center, sometimes wing. So I played on the wing, kind of like a linebacker / running back. It was fun. I enjoyed rugby. Got me a lot of places. I read online that you were one who created the combat side stroke. Is that true? Well, can't say I created it. I might have named it back in the 90s. Originally, it was called elementary side stroke, but then it started getting modified. So the term modified side stroke came about. And then I just started calling it the combat swimmer stroke. Like I said, I didn't do anything special. I didn't copyright it. I just started using that term, combat swimmer stroke. I don't know if I was the first to do it, but I've always called it the combat swimmer stroke since the mid 90s. So anybody got it before then? I don't know. Let's see. Okay, here's a good question. As someone who played American football and rugby, which did you prefer and why? Well, when I was younger, I loved American football. In fact, I thought I was going to play college football for Navy. I wound up not being able to make the team, and I wound up playing rugby, which I loved. But I loved football too. So I can't say one was particularly better than the other. I will say this, rugby was perfect because it required me to run more than football did. So it was a good transition from slowly progressing into a better runner, more. And then we had 4 or 5 guys that were going to buds on the team. So there was always somebody to kind of model and emulate with their training. And I tried to join in on their training and slowly got better with the Spec Ops level fitness that was required of being a good buds candidate. So I would say rugby was a good transition into meathead powerlifting football player, into rugby, into Spec Ops training. So that's how I used rugby. But I didn't realize I was using rugby like that until, afterwards. Whew. Thoughts on intense sprinting in the cold? I notice my joints get pretty tight and my splits are a lot slower. Is that normal? I don't do a lot of sprinting anymore, but that's me at 50. My new 100% sprint is 80%. In fact, I wrote an article on it a while back ago. 80%'s the new 100% for me. Otherwise, the wheels fall off and I wind up pulling a hamstring or something wrong in my hip, tweaks for a week. It's just a way for me to get injured. So sprinting is one of those things that no matter who you are, you will probably pull a muscle if you're going 100% sprint speed. And you're almost lucky if you don't. So I would try my best to warm up really well, wear a good set of pants, maybe warm up inside and sprint outside. But continue doing dynamic stretches throughout, in between sprints just to stay warm. Because any type of cold tightness that occurs in a sprinter, it's like driving a car with no lug nuts. Wheel's going to fall off soon. So got to be careful with that. Ever get inner knee pain when first waking up? Not when first waking up. From running, yes. How do you approach rest days? So on Wednesday of every week, I do what's called a mobility day. My mobility day looks like this. I do 5 minutes of bike or elliptical, followed by 5 minutes of stretching and foam rolling. I do that 5 times. So that's about 50, 60 minutes worth of activity. Feels really good afterwards. Then I go swimming. Moderate swim, nothing crazy. Swim for 10 minutes. And then I do some treading for 10 minutes. No hands, just to work the hips. And then I do all the dynamic stretches I can think of for about 5 to 10 minutes in chest deep water. And I leave. That is my rest day. Or I should say, that's my mobility day. I do have, like Sundays, I tend to actually not work out. Though I do more physical stuff, just labor around the house, maybe leaves and logs, chop wood, fill the fireplace, just stuff like that. But that would be a rest day. I do those on Sundays. So I actually get 6 workouts a week, with a middle one being a mobility day. So that's how I do it. Been doing it that way now for almost 10 years now. And it's very helpful. At one point, I thought I would not be able to run anymore. And then I added that mobility day and everything came back into place. I just needed a midweek mobility day, and that helps so much. In fact, even my younger guys do it now, and it's making huge results on their performance by taking that easy midweek day, and it makes days 5 and day 6 really good versus going into it kind of beaten up after 5 days of working out pretty hard. Yeah, it's what I do. I've written about it too. I'll put it in the description below, but you guys got to check out a life-changing workout once a week, life-changing workout mobility day. You Google that, you'll see a good article on it. Let's see. Hey, Stu, I've been doing incredibly better thanks to your health info. We have a group of 300 plus vets, and this is a huge topic people are always asking about. We want to help spread your message. Would you rather me interview you or have a Q&A session with you? Hey, whatever. Just email me, stu@stewsmith.com, and let's figure out what you need. Happy to assist. But yeah, we can do either one. Q&A by writing, or you can do a phone interview, whatever. Skype, Zoom. It's up to you. Let's see. A couple more questions. I'm going to cap this at about an hour here. If I don't get to your questions, by the way, just leave them in the section, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, and I will address them later on today. But I do have to write an article here after I hang up here. Let's see. I'm leaving for SO contract February. Ran way too much and was dealing with bad knee pain. Took time off. Good. Recovered. Knee seems back. Am I doing harm than good by testing it like this? No, I don't think so. Give yourself a test. See how it feels. Don't go too crazy with your mileage. Just keep them fast. Maybe run every other day for now, but do a very hard non-impact cardio day in between, like bike Tabata intervals or bike pyramids, or swimming. You should be swimming 5-6 days a week if you can anyway. But just make your swims a little extra long on days you don't run, just to work your lungs, but give your legs a break. Tips on recovering your fitness after surgery. Been out for a long time. I wrote this article called, in fact, you can go to Stu Smith Fitness again. It's called man, I have a brain fart here. Let me see. What did I call that the other day? It was a basically, I'm just doing a systems check, and that is what it is called too. Systems check. So it's a systems check and mobility day workout. So what this looks like is I go through what I normally was going to do, but I only do 5 minutes of that section, whatever it is. Might be a run, might be a jog, might be a bike, might be a calisthenics pyramid, whatever, but you do it, cap it at 5 minutes. Then see how you feel. After that, do 5 minutes of something easy cardio, easy stretching, foam rolling. Almost treat it like a mobility day, but you're actually doing the workout in sets of 5 minutes, followed by a 5-minute recovery period of easy cardio or stretching, right? And just see how that feels for the whole day or for the whole workout. But if you look up systems check, Stu Smith systems check workout, you'll see what I did. In fact, I had bronchitis last summer and had to take a week off, couldn't breathe, hurt to breathe. And I, when I came back, that's when I created the systems check idea. So I had a whole workout plan, what I was going to do. One of my charts, not dissimilar than this, so just take your normal workout, what you're going to do, and just do 5-minute blocks of it. And then follow it up with a 5-minute easy bike ride. Stretch it out. I realized then that my lungs aren't quite ready, even though I wasn't coughing anymore. I realized that, hey, my arms are good. Everything feels good, not sore, but my lungs are still a little congested. And every time I did cardio, it kept making me cough. So what I did was I just did the resistance part kind of light, didn't get too winded, and was still able to do the workout. I just laid off the cardio for another few days. So it tells you, that is what it tells you. It tells you where you need to pull back on and what you're good at doing and what you can do. So check out the systems check workout. It's a really good one. All right, let's see here. A couple more. When breathing while swimming, do you exhale slowly underwater? Yes. I've heard multiple ways to breathe while swimming and want to hear your opinion. Yes. Exhale underwater, turn to breathe, and inhale with half your face still in the water, right? If your whole head's out of the water like this, it's going to slow you down because your feet are going to drop. Body plays like a seesaw. So keep your head in the water, turn to breathe, think like screwdriver to breathe, not like a seesaw, because that's what's going to happen. 130-pound, 5'6" guy. Would you tell them to eat all they can, but leave out sugar, or just eat everything healthy and bad? Sugar's not bad. Just needs to be done in moderation. There's sugars in everything. Fruit, vegetables. If the guy wants to gain weight, he needs to have a caloric surplus at the end of the day. If he wants to lose weight, he needs to have a caloric deficit at the end of the day. That means 130-pound guy might burn 1,800 calories a day just living. If he does a workout, maybe he burns 1,000 calories. So that's 2,800 calories in a day right there that he has burned. To gain weight, you need to eat more than 2,800 calories. Now, the better food you eat, the better you will feel. You can eat 2,800 calories of crap. You're still going to break even, but you might not feel good with it because you're missing out on a lot of nutrients too. Empty calories like sugar, you're going to miss out on, the vitamins and minerals and amino acids and electrolytes that you may need for being able to perform in workouts. So that's my suggestion. If you're trying to gain weight, yes, you can be on a sort of a seafood diet. See me and SEE, see the food, eat it. Have a milkshake at the end of the day just to put on some extra weight. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you have weight to gain. Trying to lose weight, you got to do just the opposite. You have to eat less than 2,800 calories if that's what you're burning in a day, and everybody's a little bit different. All right, here we go. Last question. Winning Buds, what were some defining traits in an individual that gave insight that they may graduate? You know what? That's a tough one because you never really know. There's quiet guys. There's guys that are a little mouthier. There's guys that cracking jokes all the time. Don't think they're serious, but they actually provide some comic relief when you need it. Everybody's a little bit different. Big guys, some of the bigger guys, you would say probably not going to make it. Some of the little guys, you would say probably not going to make it. But then there's always a handful of guys that are 220 plus and some guys that are 140 or below still making it. Buds graduates come in all shapes and sizes, all backgrounds. I wish I had an answer to that question, but there is a diverse group of people. My suggestion is just be well prepared, know your weaknesses going in. If you're a small guy, you need to get strong because that boat and log crushes you. The good news is after Hell Week, you won't touch a boat and a log anymore. You'll still be rucking and carry scuba tanks and stuff like that, but it's a different type of pounding. It's not the same. If you're a bigger guy, that won't bother you, but 4 mile timed runs every week for 6 months are going to suck. If you're not a good runner, if you're a big guy, your grip needs to be really good because by the end of the O course, you may not be able to hang on there to be able to support 220 pounds, with your meat hooks. So, all right. So I guess that's it. I need to bail. Got stuff to do. If I did not get to your question, which it looked like I did not get to many questions, and I apologize, please send them to me. Just put them in the comment section of this YouTube video, or leave them on the Facebook page where this is also streaming live. And I promise you, I will get to them. And like I said earlier, I will put a lot of links into this description that describe some of those articles that I was recommending. So got questions, email me, stu@stewsmith.com. Go to stewsmithfitness.com for a great blog of hundreds of articles that are pretty timely, especially if you're in this spec ops hunt or a beginner or an advanced guy. I got answers for all of them. Mental toughness is in there, you name it. Swimming, got some great CSS videos and articles on CSS. You got to check those out. But yeah, all at stewsmithfitness.com. And last thing for you guys that are sticking around, savings, save 20% with the Save 2020 coupon. That only lasts for another couple weeks till 2020 is over. So get to it. I'll chat with you later. Have a good one. Thanks for listening.